Welcome to Three Nice Things, the podcast that has decided we've been so mean to these movies, it's time to say three nice things. You can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com, where we have a forum for you to share your thoughts on this and upcoming movies. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter at Nice Things Pod, and please rate, subscribe, and share the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Today, we're talking about the 2015 film Fantastic Four. I'm Eric Mickles, known online as duskvstweak, and with me is Julia Cosenza.
Hello.
And also with us is sci-fi author and streamer Crystal Storm.
Hello.
So this is based on the Marvel comic of the same name, if you can believe it. It's specifically based on the Ultimate Marvel Universe. So they didn't base this around the traditional Fantastic Four. This is based off of a different universe that Miles Morales was part of for a while, who you just saw in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie, this version of Fantastic Four was released in August 2015, right after Mission Impossible 5. That will explain what I'm about to tell you in a second. Filmed on a budget of $120 million, though it might have gone up to $150 million due to reshoots. The movie went on to make $160 million worldwide, according to Box Office Mojo. For those who don't know, a movie tends to have to make double its budget to get in the black, and then it has to make about triple its budget to be considered a success. So this movie made $10 million more than its budget.
Not a success.
Not a success.
No, this is a bomb. And you can compare that to the 2005 film, which made $330 million worldwide. A lot of people don't remember the first two Fantastic Four films well, but they did a lot better critically and commercially than this one. It was a different time. Actually, in America, domestically, this movie only made $56 million.
Wow.
So that's how interested American audiences were in the 2015 Fantastic Four film. Again, this was coming off where you had the choice to go see Jurassic World, Mission Impossible 5, Ant-Man, and if you wanted like a less stellar film, you also had The Man from U.N.C.L.E. So...
Ooh, not a good release date.
Yeah, no. 2015 was rough. I think even... Isn't that 2015 is Inside Out as well?
Oh wow! So yeah, it had no shot. No shot at the box office.
I always get excited for the first film of August because that's my birthday weekend, and I was not excited for this one. So
after the first three, right? They made 3 of them.
Yeah. Why would you? So why would you release it though on the same right with Ant-Man? Like really?
Well, yeah. There's technical reasons why they had to release it actually, and we can get into that. But
Gotcha.
It currently rests at a critic score of 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's harsh.
But
harsh.
It fares better with the audience score at 18%.
Hey,
It's still harsh.
that's double.
If you tuned into our Mario podcast, which is a very critically panned film, that movie is still ranked higher, both critically and by the audience score. So more people who have seen the Mario movie prefer that over this Fantastic Four movie. Yeah.
Not something to brag about for sure.
All right. Julia, when did you first watch Fantastic Four movie? When it came out in 2015, were you one of the people who saw it, or were you not even aware this was happening? What was going on when this released, and when did you watch this?
So I knew it was happening, but I honestly did not care that much, and it was kind of surprising for me, the fact that I didn't care very much, because I love these types of movies.
Yeah.
Marvel movies, it's my favorite kind of movie.
Uh-huh.
But I watched this movie for the first time 2 days ago.
Oh, boy.
I don't really feel any sort of way about it. I don't think it was a bad movie, but I wouldn't say it's a good movie. Just boring and kind of predictable.
We're going to come back to boring.
Okay.
Definitely coming back to boring, sure. So is there a reason you didn't go see it in theaters?
It just didn't look great.
Yeah? All right.
So I just wasn't excited about it when I saw the preview.
Got it. All right.
Honestly.
Crystal, Fantastic Four, 2015.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you what I was doing in 2015, but
sure.
I don't remember I definitely didn't see it in theaters, and I don't remember being any kind of hype way about. I remember being hyped about Ant-Man, but not this reboot, and I saw all the ones before it. So I watched this for the first time last night.
All right.
Yeah, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought that there were some very and I want to say this for the three nice things. So there were some interesting parts to it, but where it failed was where I think in a lot of movies actually fail was when you make these uber villains and then you have this problem. Yeah, so you make these like uber villains that are like all powerful and can do all these amazing things, and then you come to the conclusion, well, how are my heroes going to beat him? So they end up beating him in like a really stupid way because you've written yourself into this corner. So I think it really suffered from that. Yeah. Ben Grimm's was really flat. I thought that kind of the other characters had these kind of interesting personalities and how they felt about stuff, and he was just kind of, I don't know, I feel like they didn't know what to do with him, and I think he's like a really popular character in the comics. So that's
The Thing? Yeah. He's probably...
feel like he's a big deal in the comics, so the fact that they kind of didn't know what to do with him in this movie is kind of like,
Yeah, so, I would say the two most, I mean, from how I see it, I always consider The Thing and Human Torch as like the real stars of the show, but they're never like, it's always Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman that are like, no, we're the stars, we're the core. It's like people want to see The Thing hit stuff and the Human Torch be on fire.
I think that he's just called Thing. I don't think he's the Thing.
He's not. No, he's the Thing. I don't think like anybody calls him Thing in battle. They call him Ben.
If you Google him, it just comes up as Thing.
All right.
Oh, well, but then it says The Thing.
There you go.
Whatever.
All right. I'm sorry, Crystal. Continue.
Writers just stop doing that. Stop making these uber powerful villains and then not knowing. I mean, the combined powers of the Fantastic Four, I feel like you could have come up with a much better way to... Your movie might have got a better rating, because I feel like it kind of drags on, but there are some interesting parts to it, and then the end is... I felt like it just felt so anticlimactic to me. The ending did, and that's when you're supposed to have like your big final battle, and I was just like...
Did you feel like you were watching the movie, and then all of a sudden the movie was like, hey, this is the big end fight! Surprise!
Right. And you knew it was coming. Okay, it's coming. But then I guess I just didn't expect it to be as much of a letdown as it was. Like when you first see Dr. Doom, it's like, oh snap. Like this guy is okay.
Yeah.
And I'll say that for my three nice things. And then it's just like,
but
wait, what? I actually feel like I enjoyed this one though better than the three Fantastic Fours that came before it. Because I feel like, at least as far as kind of the story goes, it was, again, through I say, but it was just more, the build up before the letdown of a fight I felt was more interesting. And I kind of remember the first three ones being like cheesy and like not really liking them at all. And I don't even think I saw three. I might have just seen the first one and that would have been it. Okay. I don't think I saw the second one and the third.
Right. You're both correct and incorrect. You're thinking of the Chris Evans, Jessica Alba movie. There's only two of them.
Oh, okay.
There's Fantastic Four and then Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. However, there was a Fantastic Four movie in the early 90s that a studio had made because they had the rights to the Fantastic Four, and they had to finish the film in order to keep the rights. So it was never really released. It's also a very bad movie. None of the actors knew there was no plan to release it, so they thought it was a real movie that was going to get a real release. So this is the fourth Fantastic Four film that we're talking about.
Why? Wow.
Yeah, it seems like these set of characters are kind of cursed. This doesn't seem like any movie that comes out with them in it is very good.
Well, I
don't understand why they can't get this movie right. I mean, these are interesting characters with an
I agree.
I don't get it.
I think the issue is the Fantastic Four in the comics were created first. They were Stan Lee's like first Marvel Universe characters proper. And all the other superheroes that you're familiar with in the Marvel movies and everything, they came after. And I think that makes the Fantastic Four like this kind of nuclear family, this kind of almost royalty that did stuff, but then other people came and did that stuff better. So if you want superheroes that kind of feel like a family, you have the X-Men, and there's more dynamic character interaction you can do with that, because There's so many different characters. There's the Avengers if you want big scale superhero stuff. In the comics, what the Fantastic Four do well is cosmic and interdimensional stuff. Now with like the MCU, you got the Guardians doing that and Thor doing that. So yeah, all they had left was interdimensional travel. I was paying attention to this when it came out, so I was paying attention to all the problems we're going to talk about a little bit after all of this. I wasn't really excited for this movie, but I've seen most every single Marvel movie that's in theaters. And I'm not talking about the MCU. I mean, I saw Elektra in theaters, both Ghost Riders in theaters. And so, like, it's very rare for me to not go see a superhero movie, let alone a Marvel one. And in 2015, we had just moved, and we only had, only one of us was working, so we were pretty tight. And I had already seen Jurassic World twice, and we had just seen Ant-Man, and so, like, we were tight for cash, and so we waited after it was released. And then we just kept waiting, and then it just never happened. And so it wasn't until it came out on DVD that I watched it. I remember just being really bored and tired. When I saw Amazing Spider-Man 2 in theaters, I was exhausted because I was just like, I'm not liking this, and I'm exhausted. So this one didn't, like, emotionally drain me. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to see a third one. But with this one, to talk about how you mentioned how, like, the end fight, I remember we were watching this and, like, just bored, and it was as, like, we realized this wasn't just like Doom showing up. This was spoilers again for everybody. We're gonna spoil this movie most likely, so if you haven't seen the film, see it. We're make no apologies for spoiling the heck out of this. Doom shows up and I'm like, all right, Doom's here, but then it's just like, no, this is the end. This is the final battle and everything. And, like, we both kind of stood up like, really? Already? It just, there's no build up to that.
No, it's very abrupt. And that's
Yes.
kind of what I thought too. Like we're like ticking along with the story. We're ticking along with them coming into their powers. Okay, now they're going to the planet. Okay, and then Doom's here. All right, you knew that was coming because he's got to come in.
Yeah.
And then it was just over.
Yep.
And then Doom's here, and now we're in the battle. And then, like, did you run out of? It felt like they ran out of time.
This gave me a new appreciation for the two Fantastic Four films that we got in 2005, because at least those movies have, like, you get the sense that they understand that the Fantastic Four is a family. They don't get along, but they love each other, and it's still, like, a fun time for the most part. It's not good. It's not the best, and it probably hasn't aged well, but I would put in either of those films before I ever watch this movie again. But I gotta tell you, problem is it keeps splitting up the team in weird ways. Like, Ben is not there for the whole, like, second act until they get their powers, and then he's just brought in for no reason.
Yeah.
And so that he can become the Thing. But then at that point, they also make it so that Sue is not with the team when they get their powers.
Right.
And so she's not part of the original, like, voyage. And then Reed disappears.
Oh yeah, he just runs off.
And it's just like, they just don't understand. Like, so at the end where they're all, like, together again, I'm like, when have they even interacted in this movie?
When did they all decide together at once?
And it feels like 4 different movies. It feels like you have somebody trying to replicate, like, an 80s Spielberg film for the beginning. Then you have, like, this weird sci-fi body horror kind of movie, and then you have, like, this conspiracy thing, and then you just have, like, this big final battle in front of a blue beam of light. And so it's like, I guess maybe that's what they thought the Fantastic Four was. It was just, the 4 fantastic ways you could tell the same movie.
Right. You know what, too? Because I feel like there should have been this kind of, I don't know, redemption arc that you just don't get. Like you said, like you split them up, and I get, okay, and I can buy that. I can, right, you're mad, you're flipping out, you're trying to get out of this, whatever, Area 51, you don't know what's going on.
And they called it Area 57! Shut up!
And now, all right, and so...
I'm so mad!
His friend, like, I get it, like, the Human Torch finally has, like, life purpose now, and like, all that's fine.
Yeah.
But it never, like, you literally...
None of them ever learned, yeah.
Right, where you need them to, okay, they hate each other, but now they have to work together. And it was literally like the worst motivational speech ever given from Reed in the worst final battle ever. Rivals how bad Suicide Squad's final battle was.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh boy.
A big problem for me is that I find all the actors to be very bland, and that makes for very bland characters. And I thought one of my nice things was going to be, and don't tell me if this is one of yours, but I thought one of my nice things was going to be Michael B. Jordan was good. I feel like the movie was just so bad, and we know he's probably like the best actor out of these four, but there's just nothing for him to do. Nobody, I find Miles Teller, I mean, all three of the other guys, Miles Teller, Toby Kebbell, and Jamie Bell, I think is the thing. All of them are the blandest. I can't think of anything else. They're just so bland.
Well, Jamie Bell didn't have anything to do.
Right, that's
so
true.
I can't even get mad at, like, you can't, I mean, there's nothing to bring to this character.
I just find Miles Teller to have an unlikable face.
Yeah.
Ouch. But you're not necessarily wrong. I kind of agree
He
with
seems
you.
like that kind of guy that, like, will just talk to you about how great this movie he saw at this French cinema was, and you know he just read, like, the Cliff Notes, but he's talking about what a work of art this thing was, and it's just like, oh, shut up, you. To talk about your Doom is this ultimate bad guy, you're so right, because when he shows up, he's controlling, like, the actual reality around him. He's popping people's heads like it's nothing, and then at the end, he's being punched by a stretchy guy, and he seems to be having a problem with that.
Right, yeah, like...
So, and also at the end, spoiler as I already warned, Sue and Johnny's dad is killed, murdered by Doom, and they go, Dad, 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 and then they're fine.
Yeah, I actually had written that down as a note, that, like, the death of their... And not only was it, like...
Reed is totally unaffected.
Right, not only is it, like, anticlimactic, but it's also kind of cheesy. It's just not good
But
at all.
there's nothing to... He plays this, like, important role to them, and...
Yeah, through the whole movie.
They just move on, they focus on being superheroes, and then at the end, there's no, like, funeral, there's no sadness, they're just like, oh, look at this cool facility we have.
Yeah, didn't they name it after him?
They were gonna name it, and then they were gonna say, but Dad didn't like that. It's like, how long has this been? And also, there's 1 year later at, like, the third part of the second act, and it's just like, what?
Wait, was there? I missed that. Was there 1 year?
When
really?
when we find after Reed escapes from Area 57,
right,
there's a 1 year.
It was a year.
It says 1 year later.
I didn't even realize that.
It doesn't matter.
When you think about that too, especially when he comes back him and Johnny, like, and Johnny's just like, oh, welcome back, dude. Like, that's it. A whole year, ditched him.
He's a big fan of the 4 days he spent with Reed, that he remembers how much he loves him after a year.
That makes that so much worse.
Doesn't it?
He was gone for a year.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get to some of the facts about the movie so we can get to the nice things. Some of the actors who dodged the bullet here. Kit Harington was almost Reed Richards.
Wow.
Margot Robbie as Sue Storm. Yep, she dodged this and was in another bad superhero
I was gonna
movie.
say, did she do Suicide Squad instead of this?
I don't know if it was instead of, but she did Suicide Squad. So, Domhnall Gleeson was almost Doom. And Domhnall Gleeson is just in everything all the time, and I feel like he should thank his lucky stars it did not apply to Fantastic Four. This one's funny. Mads Mikkelsen, and I don't know when in the production of this movie this was considered. Mads Mikkelsen was auditioned for the role of Reed Richards.
Wow.
So this must have been at a...
Mads Mikkelsen
He was Hannibal. He's on the Hannibal TV show.
Oh, he's amazing. No, he's an amazing
Yeah,
actor.
he was the bad guy in Doctor Strange and Casino Royale.
So are they just gonna make him old and everybody else young?
This must have been when they were looking at older, because at one point Adrian Brody was also being mentioned, so this must have been before they thought they were teenagers.
Yeah.
But Mads Mikkelsen said, I didn't walk out. When I left it was just like, this is crazy. I don't even have long arms. What am I doing here? The audition was all about long arms. No lines. I felt a little funny. So
Trying to make sure you get that long arm acting down.
All right,
that's
so
the most important thing in the movie.
It seems like maybe you guys aren't aware of all this, so this might be informative for you. Josh Trank, the director of the movie, he was hired on the strength of his film Chronicle, which he also did with Michael B. Jordan, which is a very good film. It's very intense. But then Fox ordered rewrites and reshoots of Fantastic Four because the movie was feeling too much like Chronicle. Even that the producer and screenwriter Simon Kinberg was mentioned as having filmed some of those reshoots. Due to the reshoots, there were multiple scenes in the trailer that didn't make it into the final film, even up to the release.
Interesting. Do you know what kinds of scenes?
There's a scene in the trailer where the Thing is in like a plane and he's about to dive bomb a base or a village and to be used as a weapon. There's a few action moments you don't see, just a few like character shots that aren't in there. There's a scene with Johnny Storm where he's like looking at a body and it looks kind of creepy and everything. So at the time, there were multiple sources commenting that Josh Trank had erratic behavior, and even citing that his dogs destroyed hotel rooms. But this was all refuted by Trank. However, due to the experience, he was either fired or he simply left the Star Wars spin-off he was attached to. It's untitled. I think some people thought maybe it was a Boba Fett film that was happening, but he was attached to it, and it didn't happen. He was either fired or he left. Trank stated in a deleted tweet, he deleted this right as the film was releasing. A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this film, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though. So that did not go over well with Fox. So yeah, if you didn't know, there were a whole bunch of reshoots. The ending apparently was changed. A lot of scenes were taken out and moved around.
What was the original ending? I have questions.
I don't know, but you can tell the scenes that were shot after because Sue is wearing a terrible blonde wig in those scenes because Kate Mara, after filming it, had dyed her hair and gotten a haircut and everything, and so she had to wear a wig. So there's scenes where she has the worst looking wig.
Is it bad that I didn't even notice that?
I
was paying so little attention.
I kind of noticed her hair, but I remember like there being like my brain was thinking like just making a note of like blonde hair.
There were scenes where in the same like scene a shot would have her with a wig and then with the normal hair. So apparently you can see Miles Teller has facial hair and then no facial hair in different moments as well.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was paying so little attention. None of this. It all went over my head.
Wait. Now I'm recalling. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, yeah, there was a moment he had like a scrub.
There was
like,
different stuff with Doom planned. Doom was originally a blogger and had a different last name, and they dubbed over it to make it Doom. Also, I don't know if it is, but the scene where the Thing fights Reed in the jungle, I have to believe that's a reshot scene because the green screen looks terrible, and the Thing knocking Reed out is so bad. He headsbutts a man made of rubber, and it works.
Yep.
Oh, wait, now that I'm thinking about that, you're right.
Yep. There were mumblings that this version of the Fantastic Four would cross over with Fox's other superhero movie franchise, the X-Men, who, at the time, were riding high off of First Class, The Wolverine, and Days of Future Past. It wouldn't have been the same universe, but they would meet due to interdimensional travel. This did not happen. A sequel to this movie was planned, as Fox would have needed to produce another Fantastic Four film in 7 years to retain the rights. So if they didn't make these movies in a certain amount of time, the Fantastic Four go back to Marvel, which is why they had to release it when they did, because they released this a year after the rights were supposed to expire. So they had just made the deadline when they released this in August 2015. Tommy Wiseau, director of The Room, wanted to direct the sequel, having actually enjoyed the first film.
Oh, wow.
Matthew Vaughn, director of Kingsman, X-Men First Class, and Kick-Ass, expressed interest, saying, "One of my favorites is the Fantastic Four, so maybe one day I'll try and rectify the mistake." However, none of that happened, and Disney now owns not just Fantastic Four, but all of Fox.
That's right.
So they are now back in the hands of Marvel, along with all our souls.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. All right. Enough of all that. It's time to say our three nice things. We'll start with you both. You both seem to enjoy this movie more than myself. So, you know what? I'll start then, since you guys actually like this. And then I can sit back and listen to your nice things. You're probably genuine. And this one was hard. So I'm going to say the part of the movie where it becomes a body horror kind of creepy. The scenes where, like, Reed wakes up for the first time and he's all stretched out. And he's like, ugh, what's happening? And his arms can't move right and everything. And the Human Torch is just on fire. And he's, like, screaming. And I'm like, this is kind of disturbing. Like, if you woke up and you were just on fire. I used to walk around at work when I was a teenager, snapping my fingers below sprinklers because I wanted to become the Human Torch, but I also was afraid that if I did, I would be a man on fire. So I would do it under a sprinkler system just in case.
I'm sorry, wait, when was this?
This was when I was a janitor at a college, so I was about 16, 17.
You're still old enough.
Yeah.
I love this level of dork from you right
Look,
now. This is amazing.
This was when life was a little rough, so yes, if being on fire sometimes seemed better being inside a dumpster with a wet vac.
Yeah, fair.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think with Sue and with Reed and with Johnny, them just being in the facility, there is this level of like sci-fi body horror that isn't done to its full level that could really like creep people out, but I think it does that in a more interesting way than maybe like somebody getting their powers and like, whoa, I'm on fire, I melt snow, you know? It's not somebody it's not Johnny holding a cup of coffee. He's like, wait, my coffee's warm. I appreciated that. I think that worked. I think when we see the Thing, all that tension is gone. It's nice to see a CGI thing, but I think they don't film that scene well with the Thing being like, I think when you hear Ben like just kind of mumbling like, help, I can't, who's there, help, and you think he's just in a bunch of rock and he can't see, that's terrifying. So that's my first nice thing, that was an interesting take on them discovering their powers. And I guess like for most outside of the X-Men, I can't think of many movies where somebody discovers their power and it's kind of scary, you know? So outside and the Hulk, I could keep going. I guess Daredevil is scary. I discredited everything I said, but Crystal.
Who is next? Yeah.
Oh,
Crystal,
okay. So to kind of, I guess I'll segue off of what you said, Dustin. One of my nice things was I really liked the appearance of Doom, and I liked how he just turned that facility into like a horror show. I thought that was a great way to introduce the villain, that he's literally just walking down the hallway making people's heads explode. It got really dark really quick.
The one guy, Tim Blake Nelson is his name? His head just pops inside his suit. And
I feel like, that needs to be one of, because I hated that guy, and I was really happy when he died. I was like, yes, make his head explode.
He's just doing a job. He's just going to work.
Yeah, I enjoyed because that kind of caught me, but I didn't expect
I had to pop.
To go like that, I kind of thought he was going, because again, I kind of missed the 1 year later thing, so I didn't realize a whole year had passed. Yeah. So I kind of thought that they had gone back. I mean, I knew sometime had passed, but I thought that he was kind of messed up like the rest of them were, so I expected the arc to go a little bit, I guess I thought they were going to like ease into him becoming the villain a little bit.
No.
So him just popping up and all of a sudden I'm uber powerful and you guys suck and I'm here to destroy the planet type thing. It was cool. You expected that, but yeah, I liked how it turned into a horror movie.
So
I dug that.
So you liked like that weird metal green flowy look.
Okay, to be fair, I don't know what Dr. Doom is like supposed to look like.
So
he has a great cape.
Yeah,
Doom is he's regal. He tends to wear a lot of armor. He has a metal mask and he wears a cloak. Very green and purple. He's got a pretty sweet costume.
Okay. In that case, they kind of failed.
Yeah.
They definitely failed in that because I guess it kind of worked with the story this movie was trying to tell us, how the powers were giving to them kind of really messily.
Yeah, it's gross. His is gross too because his containment
he just
suit
falls into some crap and his suit literally melts into him.
Into his body, yeah. And so they're like, we're going to cure you.
A monster.
Yeah. Yeah, when they say we're going to cure you, I'm like, how? How are you gonna unfuse his suit to his body?
Right.
How is that preferable to what is happening to him now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my first one. I of the darkness of Doctor Doom.
I don't know if you've ever seen Akira, or Akira is, you might know it, but the anime film from the 80s, Akira. There's a scene where one of the characters gets psychic telekinetic abilities, and as he's leaving the hospital, he kind of deals with some soldiers in a similar way. There's a hallway scene, and I was watching this, I'm like, I think Josh Trank liked Akira. Or whoever filmed that scene in that reshoot. Doom in the comics is kind of a genius, so he's a big technological character, and he also is magic. He's kind of a sorcerer. He doesn't really use the magic so much as he does his tech, but none of the movies have ever done that right. So this is unfortunately another not Doctor Doom. So
he felt very unstable, but
yeah.
You kind of got, I mean, I thought at least with him, you got that vibe from day one that he was kind of this unstable scientist who had this kind of jaded view on the world. So, I mean, you saw that once he got his powers, he was going to take it to a dark place and do whatever. So at least for his character, I mean, he was, interesting enough that, I bought it. Like him, just becoming absolutely crazy because of what happened to him. Like, I could see that.
Hopefully, now that the Fantastic Four are back in the MCU, Doom in the comics tends to be like one of the biggest of the bads in the whole like world. So like everybody has to deal with him sometimes. So he, after everything with Thanos pans out, everything, like Doom could be like the next big bad.
Nice.
He has that reputation in the comics. So it'd be nice to see that.
I thought, I mean, up until the very anticlimactic final battle, I thought they were doing a really good job of showing that, oh snap, like this guy is, I mean, if there's anybody who's going to blow up Earth, he could probably do it like real quick.
No, all you need to do to fight this Doctor Doom is just hit him in different directions.
Apparently, that little bit of misdirection is all it took.
Yeah. Julia, what's your first nice thing?
Okay, so it's actually funny because the first nice thing I had was a toss-up between Doctor Doom and something else, because I actually also liked the way that he looked. I thought he was pretty badass. Am I allowed to say that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he looked pretty cool. I think that if they threw a cloak on him, he would...
He had a cloak at the beginning when we see him.
He throws it back on when...
Yeah, I don't know where he got that cloak.
Right.
Is it bad that I don't remember seeing a cloak, honestly?
I think in the second, like the final fight in front of the blue laser... Yes, it's not really it's on, but it doesn't look the way it did when we first see it.
But yeah, so I thought he looked pretty cool, but that's not what I wrote as my first nice thing. My first nice thing is actually that since this movie came out 4 years ago, it still had the classic Marvel intro, which it's my personal preference to the new one. I don't mind that they make it a little more
You like the flipping
now.
Comics.
I love the flipping comic. It just made me very happy because I haven't seen it in quite a few years, and seeing it again made me feel good.
You like the new one. The new one feels more like the Wonderful World of Disney. Kind of.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's funny because you guys keep mentioning Doom, and no one will agree with me on this, I'm sure. But in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, the second Chris Evans, Michael Chiklis film, Doom at one point gets Silver Surfer's surfboard, and he's in full costume, and it's not like the best costume, but on the surfboard and like in costume, it actually makes for a pretty decent looking Doom who does some cool stuff. It's still not a great film, but that's like the only moment where I'm like, okay, that's not the worst Doom we've ever seen. Every time they try to explain why he has metal on him, it's like, he just wears metal. That's it.
It's not deep, guys, okay? Yeah. He just wants to wear it. Just let him wear
it. My second nice thing, it's quick, and it's in a bad scene. But that scene I mentioned where Ben goes to get Reed, because Reed's been off on his own trying to build his own solo teleporter so he can try to cure Ben. Ben goes to go get him. And before that, there's a couple like soldiers or security or whatever that try to capture Reed, and there's some moments where Reed is fighting them that I think it's the first time I've ever seen like those stretchy powers be shown as like combat effective. Usually in those two films with Chris Evans, Mr. powers tend to be a little bit goofy. Like, look, he can turn around in a corkscrew. He can change his face a little. He can wrap himself around things, and it's fun. But in this one, he punches guys at a distance. He's able to, like, just dodge their bullets. It's very, like, a lot of it's kind of quick and subtle. And I wish there was more of that, because out of all the characters, Reed, I think, has the dumbest looking powers when you put them in a movie. Because you have a big rock monster, you have somebody who's on fire and invisible powers who can make force fields, and then you have somebody who just, like, stretches. There's cool stuff you can do with that, but the movies have not really. And it's unfortunate because in the fight with Doom, that is not on display at all. He just stands in front of him and punches him, and Doom's like, oh no, I forgot I can do telekinesis. But for those few moments where he's just fighting some soldiers and then dealing with Ben, I thought it was interesting. I thought I could have used more of that, but it was not to be.
Okay. My second nice thing is that I enjoyed the storytelling in Act 1 and a little bit into Act 2. I liked that there was conflict between the team members. I don't think it all got resolved very well, but I liked I thought they set up kind of Reed well. I thought they set up Sue well. They didn't do a really good job with Ben, so he's kind of the exception to this. They just didn't know what to do with him. Yeah. I especially liked too, kind of at the end where everything goes wrong, how they dealt with it. I thought that was very kind of apropos to the situation. Like, I understand why Reed leaves. I think if I woke up in a facility and all of a sudden I would, government facilities like this, and I hear is my friend screaming and this is terrible, and knowing just what I know about, what you know about governments and organizations like that, I wouldn't trust them to help me either. So if I had an opportunity to maybe get out and, maybe help my friends from afar, then I could see myself doing that. But also I understand, like, if you're off the radar for however long he was off the radar.
A year.
For a year. Being furious at him, being absolutely furious. So Ben's anger, I thought, was really real. I thought that could have been explored, a lot more.
But with the redemption, there's never a moment where Ben...
There's none of that.
Ben is like, I forgive you, buddy.
Right. And I feel like Reed needs to earn that as well. I liked Johnny Storm's I like that he was kind of lost in the beginning and trying to find his way, and then when he got these powers, he was like, look, Dad, you don't get to tell me now that it's a problem, now that I've got something to do. Like, I thought that was real.
That's very true to Johnny, and usually he's the one who, in the comics and in the other movies, Johnny's always the one who's, like, excited because his powers are cool, and he's younger, and he's a bit more of a hothead.
Yeah, I thought they did that well. Sue at times is a little flat for me. Again, it all kind of worked as well. There wasn't, I feel like she was kind of the second kind of weakest link, as they weren't really sure what to do with her, which I think is unfortunate because I think she's one of the coolest, especially because of what she could do with her powers and stuff. So, but yeah, I liked them setting up that conflict. I thought they did a good job that they could have, if whoever wrote this was a better storyteller, there could have been there could have been a nice way that you could have worked with those arcs and resolved it.
You know what? I think you and I have a similar feeling towards that beginning, because for me, up until they get in the teleporter, it kind of feels like it could just be like a low-budget sci-fi anything film. Yes. And that's more interesting than when it tries to... when they get, and especially when it tries to become a superhero movie, like it fails.
Really fails there. It fails there, and I liked the way they got the superpowers, because that was like, it was completely messed up. Like he's on fire and screaming, and poor Ben can't get the teleporter door closed, so he really know why dude becomes stretchy, but whatever.
I find that other dimension they go to very boring looking, and not exciting. So when things are going wrong, like I'm just looking, I'm like, it's just not. I don't think it's filmed very well, but yeah, it's a lot more frightening than like, oh no, we've been hit by a cloud.
Now okay, so the other dimension, I liked that it was unassuming, but so I kind of harkened back for me. I had watched this horror film on Netflix. It was about some astronauts that went to the moon. Apparently it was like the second moon mission. It was like one of those. But the cool thing about this movie is the aliens are like moon rocks. So you don't realize, it sounds dumb, but it's actually really creepy. So they're like on the moon and they're taking samples, not realizing that the things that they're bringing on the ship are these things that are killing them. So when he like leans down and he scoops up that rock, I'm like, don't touch nothing.
Oh yeah, put it down.
Nothing.
I know. Yeah, for a bunch of scientists, some of them are real
not so
dumb.
smart.
Yeah.
Not they're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So I like that it looked like it wasn't going to be this big of a deal of a planet and then turned into a really bad place. Like I thought they could have done that better though, but the whole movie could have done better.
So basically, you were less interested as soon as it was the year later.
Yeah, like even that movie where that moment where they all get drunk and like Hal B. Jordan has that. He's like Ben comes in and he's asking them like, should you really do this? And like Johnny Storm's like, yeah, and then he like moves his seat down.
Yeah.
Like in a complete like.
That's
doing this moment. Like it was funny.
Yeah.
Like I thought, before they become superheroes, the movie's not bad.
Yeah. Julia, second nice thing.
Yeah, it's actually funny what you guys are talking about because my second nice thing is about the very ending.
Nice.
When they're when they're like at their new base.
Yes, so I know it's kind of cheesy, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed, I would say, the last 60 seconds of the movie. Like, actually enjoyed it. I just thought, when they're trying to find a name, and I forget exactly what they say, but Ben says something like, gotta say, it's fantastic, and Reed's just like, say that again?
Yeah, Reed has one of those Google moments. It's like,
he's just like, guys, I got it. Ready? And then it cuts out.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. It actually, hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, it actually reminded me a lot of the very ending of Captain Marvel, which I also enjoyed. So
Captain Marvel was awesome.
It's funny you say that because I hate that scene.
Really?
Yes.
You hate it?
I hate it because they're acting in a way that they've never acted in the movie before. And they're acting like, technically they're acting like they should act Fantastic Four wise.
Right.
Like Reed and the Thing are buddies. Johnny and the Thing that's the thing too, because Johnny's like, what about the Thing that's not supposed to be, nobody wants there? It's like, since when do you guys not like each other? And like all that stuff from like the comics and how that should be, but it comes out of nowhere in the movie. I'm like, suddenly Johnny is making fun of the Thing. Suddenly, the Thing and Reed are friends again.
That though. See, the thing is, while watching it, I knew that it was cheesy and I knew it was corny, but I didn't care because I just thought it was a nice little ending and it was funny. Yeah,
okay. I'm glad you like that because when Reed is like, "Hold on, I got it, ready," I'm just like, "Screw you."
Okay, but about this movie, I can say that the last thing I watched made me laugh.
All right, well, there you go. That scene reeks of reshoot to me.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
I was watching the Thing walk, and I was like I was paying attention to the feet, because I'm like, do the feet look like they're actually touching the floor? And I'm not convinced they were. So, all right, well, good. Whoever reshot that loves what you just said, that's for sure.
Well, you're very welcome.
Yeah, maybe Simon Kingbird, I'm not sure. So, congratulations, you guys.
The last 60 seconds.
The last 60 seconds,
hour and a half long movie.
Boy, all right. My last thing, and it's funny because you called Sue flat, and her character is less flashy than the other characters. But you know what? Out of all the characters in this movie, I like that her personality, I guess, because it's not, her character isn't connected to Reed as just like she's Reed's love interest. She's not Reed's love interest, and I can't even think of a scene where they really like flirt. They put that scene in where they're like, right before they go into the dimension, they're kind of laughing and stuff, and that didn't ring very true to me. But Sue seems to be like her own character. She has her own agenda and her own interests. So she's independent of herself. Her powers are a little bit cooler this time around. So I guess I just like that for once Sue doesn't just seem like the girl. She's not attached. Even with Johnny, she's not really defined by being like Johnny's sister. She's not Reed's girlfriend. She's not Johnny's sister. She's her own scientist. The pattern recognition is fine. I guess that's her thing. She notices patterns and whatnot. What I don't like is that she's the one who finds Reed because of pattern recognition. Because in order to make her smart in that situation, they have to make Reed dumb. Because if Reed is as smart as he's supposed to be, and he knows Sue, he would know how to not leave a pattern unless he wanted to be found. And so I think you can make her just as smart as Reed without doing that without maybe making Reed dumb, but for the
Dumbing
most
him down
part,
like that,
it's after, like, having Jessica Alba as Sue, and I'm sure Jessica Alba did the best with what she, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's giving
Jessica Alba doesn't even read scripts.
Yeah, maybe I'm giving Alba too much credit there, but I don't love Kate Mara, but the character.
You're supposed to be saying nice things.
Yeah, the character of Sue, I actually I was happier with than I thought I would be, especially the second time around. I noticed that. So
my last nice thing then is Dr. Franklin Storm. I really liked his character.
He has a gravelly voice.
He does, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, no, I liked his character.
Yeah.
I like that he was the one, like, because you don't always get that in these movies, like that one guy who's literally like in charge of but also genuinely looking out for what's happening, and his motives about why he's doing this don't ever get twisted. It doesn't become one of those where I started out trying to do this wonderful thing and it became terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, he stays pretty consistent even throughout this.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that about him, and I genuinely they actually did a really good job that he genuinely cared about what was even after the movie becomes dumb and they get their superpowers. Even then, he's like, what's going on with my kids?
Right.
Even trying to tell Johnny, like, this is not what you think it is. Like, so I like the consistency of that care. I thought they didn't do him any justice with his death scene or whatever.
No, it sounds like you were more upset with his death than his kids were.
Yeah, I think I was. Why didn't Doom make his head explode like he's making everybody else's head explode? Because he gets a final line. That's why he has to die differently, because plot.
Doom tells him to get out of the way, so I wonder if they're trying to be like, he still kind of has an affection for him as well, maybe.
Maybe.
And then he's like,
but at the same time, you still kill him.
Yeah, no,
so,
it's true.
I mean, and it's almost like you kill him in a worse way than you killed everybody else.
That's
because
true.
You, like, burn him to the point that he doesn't even immediately die. So fire hurts when you're not Johnny Storm. So he probably suffered a lot more than everybody else in that hallway whose brains he just made it explode in like 3 seconds.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. There's no sprinkler systems in this building either.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, I enjoyed his character, and I liked the consistency of, and I liked that he was always very clear about the goals of the project and what he was trying to do with it, and that he just wasn't sleazy like everybody else. I dug that.
Julia?
Also, sorry, I just say, what was going on in that hallway with them just being okay with all the dead bodies? Sorry.
The Fantastic Four? Like, they seemed unaffected, like
completely unaffected by all, like, that's a...
And they all just, like, when they're like, go to your rooms, they're like, okay. And then, like, Johnny's just lying on a slab of metal, and I'm like, is this what you just do in your room? You don't have an Xbox?
I know, for people that are supposed to be, helping them.
But that makes it even worse, too. You've been there a year, and that's what your room looks like?
Yeah. I know. Julia, what's your last nice thing?
All right, my very last nice thing is simply the fact that I laughed a lot at the fact that Ben never has pants after he becomes the Thing. Because I think even in Fantastic Four, their first appearance in the comics, he even has, like, shorts on at least.
Mm-hmm.
But they never once gave him pants, nothing to put on his naked body. I thought that was funny.
That's awesome. I mean, to be fair, like, there's nothing there anymore because he's just all rock.
Right, which makes me wonder, are they trying to imply in other movies or comics that there is something there?
He does have
a girlfriend?
He has a girlfriend,
in the first two, he gets married.
Yeah, in the first movie, he has a girlfriend, and he makes comments that let you know things are happening.
Exactly. So
I have questions.
Yeah.
Exactly. It makes you think about it, and it makes you laugh. I just thought it was so hilarious that they never gave, like, nothing. Did they even give him any sort of costume?
No. It's funny because they do that, like, it's more realistic to just have him rocking around like all rock. But for me, it's just like, yeah, but now he's just all rock, and it's like you're just looking at a boring CGI rock. And it's the same thing with, like, Superman's costume in the new movies where he doesn't have the red trunks. It's just all blue. And so you realize, like, the trunks aren't there because they make sense in terms of, like, how Superman puts on his costume. It just makes sense visually because otherwise you're just looking at somebody in a blue wetsuit.
But just thinking about the fact that, like, because even though he's now a big rock monster, he still can look down and say, oh my gosh, I'm completely naked, and he's fine with it.
There's a cartoon series where the Thing He doesn't wear a costume that has the 4 on it. He just spray paints the number 4 on his chest.
That's great.
Let's see. We have a comment from on Twitter. Nightcrest Comic says they say three nice things. We usually only ask for one thing, but sometimes people feel it in them to say 3 nice things, and that's approved of here. So Nightcrest Comic says it was a bold take on the original source. Yep, it helped Michael into becoming a better actor. I don't know if this was... I haven't seen all of Michael's films. This might be the worst film he's in. So, if anything, that probably taught him how to just get through a bad script.
And he was good in Creed, and he killed it in Black Panther.
Yeah, he's great in Black Panther. He's great in Creed. He's great in Chronicle.
Right, but Chronicle came out before this movie, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like...
But you learn more through failure. So he was in Fruit.
That's true.
He got a lot of accolades for being in Fruitvale Station. He was the voice of Cyborg, Justice League Flashpoint, the animated version of that. So he's done the rounds. So
yeah, fair share of superheroes.
No doubt that this is his worst film. So and he's only been doing good stuff since. So congratulations, Michael. You got your one bad film out of the way. Hopefully, he doesn't get. That chair scene. Who mentioned the chair scene? That was...
I did. He was funny in that.
That chair scene is funny, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's just like... I feel like he probably does comedy really well, because I just remember that having just really good timing, just the way he kind of just deadpans it. It was just well done. I just stuck out of my brain. It was a funny scene.
You got that? And then it says, it showed us new ways how their powers worked that we were unfamiliar with. Which is... I mean, Sue didn't fly, I don't remember, in the other... Fantastic Four movies. I said that thing about the stretchy combat effectiveness. Right. I feel like Human Torch, power-wise and visually, is kind of a lateral move. It doesn't seem like that big of an improvement or downgrade from the other films.
Right.
So, I agree. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that, like... It's very cartoony the way, like, his mouth and his eyes have that glowy jack-o'-lantern look.
Doesn't he have... I mean, if your whole body is made of fire, though, don't you have to look that way?
Yeah.
Like, when he flames on, I mean, you're flamed on. Like,
I think with Chris Evans, they make it so that he still looks very much like Chris Evans, just all on fire. But yeah, it was the flying scenes. They felt very much like the same they did 10 years ago. So
well, there's so much you can do with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's all the nice things we've said. Probably will be the only nice things I ever say now about this movie. Yeah. Crystal, are you ever gonna watch this movie again?
I mean, not of my own accord. Like if I'm hanging out with somebody and I guess have it on, then I'll watch it. It's not one of those where I'm just like, oh my god, turn it off. So yes, I wouldn't be opposed to watching it again, but I'm not like
Julia.
No. no. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but I probably won't watch it again. It just wasn't super interesting, so I have no need to watch it again. And can I say one more thing that bothered me about this movie?
Is it about how the poster shows a destroyed city behind them, and they're never once in a city?
No, but that's a good one, too.
Okay.
No, I was just surprised that there was no after credits scene, just solely because this is a Marvel movie, and I feel like there's always an after credit scene. And I sat through an extra 3-4 minutes waiting for one and did not get one.
I, watching this, completely forgot it was a Marvel movie.
Not all the X-Men movies do that. It's the MCU films that it's guaranteed. But yeah, I mean, what are they gonna? I mean, I don't even know what they could hint at. This movie was such a mess production-wise. I don't know if they even had an idea what to do next.
What they should have done was taken the last 60 seconds of that I enjoyed and put it after the credits.
Okay, there you go.
And
then you would have liked the after credit scene.
Exactly. It would have made me even happier because I would have gotten the scene and I would have enjoyed it.
Right. I will not watch this again unless I'm doing a total superhero marathon, and it's not just like the MCU or the X-Men. Like, if somebody hasn't seen any superhero movies, then like show me every superhero movie that's ever made. Then I'll watch this again. For other bad movie related podcasts, maybe. This won't be the worst thing I ever have to watch for something, but I was at Walmart one day and they had those 2 Fantastic Four movies in a dual pack for Blu-ray, and I was like, you know what? As of now, these are the best Fantastic Four movies they're ever gonna make. So I bought it because I at least I know watching those that they have like have a vision that they see through to the end, and at one of them has the Silver Surfer in them. So no, I can't. I don't want to watch this again. I didn't want to watch it I watched it last night again for the second time, and I was just like, it's a reboot without a sequel. It's just, you can skip it completely. It's like the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies, because the second movie ends as like, oh, stay tuned for the third film that never gets made. So
that
it's like,
never happens.
it's just, it's pass. So no, and honestly, if you've never seen this, I would even say you don't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't.
I would just say, I would recommend the other films first, because at least Chris Evans is funny in that.
Right, I was gonna say, I appreciate the more serious take on the Fantastic Four, but I don't feel like I was ever really entertained.
Yeah.
And I feel like, if anything, the first two are at least very entertaining.
Yeah. I would also then just say, just wait until Disney Marvel uses them. So yeah, I can come up with those 3 nice things, but I would not suggest you force yourself to, if you haven't already. All right, well, that was our 3 nice things about the 2015 Fantastic Four films. Maybe someday we will actually cover the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four sequel. So who knows? Maybe we'll watch the original. Maybe we'll come back to these characters someday. But other than that, thank you, Julia and Crystal, for being on this episode. Julia, where can you're found on Instagram. Where they can find you on Instagram?
On Instagram, I am at Comatose, which is COMATOAST.
Yeah, spelled toast. Got it.
Yes, Comatose.
Yes, and Crystal.
So clever.
Crystal, where can they find you, and what can they find you doing?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter right now, because I'm working on redesigning my website, at Writer Streamer. And then the best place to catch me is on Twitch 4 nights a week, playing video games, doing creative writing, that kind of thing. I've got a 3rd book that I'm working on, and the Twitch TV channel is my name, Crystal Storm. Again, anywhere you're looking, you just type in duskvstweak, and that's where I am.
That's where he'll be.
Streaming or tweeting or anything else. So, again, thank you all for listening. You can find other shows like this at radiomeanwhile.com, and please visit the forum, because you can write longer thoughts on this movie or upcoming movies, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Nice Things Pod. And again, please rate, subscribe, and share to this show on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, and we hope you join us again.
Goodbye.
3 nice things.